My Omar didn't have any longer the best life, but that's the case the majority of the time with any elderly dog, any dog as old as Omar, and sometimes even younger dogs, because for the most part, it's not always the case, but for the most part, bigger dogs have a much shorter lifespan. You know, he didn't have the best life anymore, but he definitely didn't have the worst life. And the fact is, I told you what was going on, and I was in the process of at least trying to alleviate that, like I'd done before, via purchasing and giving to him high potency, very, very good, from dogs naturally, full spectrum CBD oil that I know from past when I had it before would knock him out. I was hoping that would help with some of those times where his anxieties his brain would cause him to obsess over not being able to stand up. Okay? My Omar still had a decent life. It wasn't the best life, but again, dogs who live to be as old as Omar, that's often the case. And what about dogs that are completely blind and completely deaf? But they can still smell their owners. And I met one at the vet's before. A really old little dog, little poodle, a little something. And I think it was a poodle, little one though. Or it could have been a mixture of a Chihuahua, poodle, whatever. But whatever it was blind and deaf completely, and really, really, really old. Okay? The expensive CBD oil hadn't worked at all to calm him down. But I know from the past it did. It knocked him out, Most of the time, at his age, he slept. I didn't feel like he had such a bad life. Again, it wasn't the greatest, but that applies to any dog who reaches Omar's age, with the probably 1 in a million exception. That's why people use the term, even that young woman, very sweet, at Dogs Naturally, who listened to me. We talked for 45 minutes. And she shared her story, but she used the term that a lot of pet parents of elderly pets use, about her baby, her dog, that's not even, it's her parents. I mean, she doesn't live there anymore, she visits, but she knows that her dog is 15, and she had her since she was 9, and she knows that time is nearing. She's like, she knows, and maybe my phone call helped her. I wouldn't be a bit surprised, given the conversation I had with her and everything, if she thought to herself, I haven't visited my dog in a while, I've been caught up in things, maybe I should go. I wouldn't be surprised if she went to go visit her dog after having her conversation with me. I know the circumstances, I just know she told me she doesn't live at home. Because at first she was saying, yeah, my dog's 15, and then I was asking specific questions. She's like, well, actually, it's my parents' dog, and I visit, and I said, so she's 15, yeah, cockapoodle or something or other, something like that, most kind of little dog, probably bigger than Omar, but and and I said, she's 15. Does she have any problems? She's like, no, not too much. But she did use the term, she has good days and bad days. And she did tell me 3 years ago when she was 12, the dog was 12, she was having some mobility issues. And then this young woman she must have been working at that company then too. She's just in her early 20s. Gave her the supplements, particularly that one I was giving Omar for the joints, the green muscle, whatever it is, and she said she was better, right? But the fact remains, she knows that her baby's not going to live forever. And then she told me that she had a cat that had problems its whole life or whatever, die in front of her. My cat Munchkin died, relatively, I forget how old she was, but there are some cats that live to be 19, 20. Some dogs live that long too, and some pugs do, but I've read like on pug spot and stuff, and people say, yeah, my dog's 17, 18, but she's blind, deaf, can't walk, I wheel her around in a carriage, It's a personal decision of each individual owner to decide if it's necessary, if they need to have their dog euthanized. With the blessing of my vet, after having more than one conversation with our longtime vet, who's known Omar for a long time, didn't feel it was necessary at this time. I'll never know what happened to him. Obviously, I would prefer it if that had to happen, that he would have died in his sleep. Or even died in his pen, but not, like, say I'm gone or something, not crying one moment and dead the next, and neither me and my mom have any idea why. We were right there, talking about me going down to the mailbox, and my mom was going to watch Omar, and he was dead. But he hadn't been dead a few minutes prior when he was whimpering like he always does, and I checked on him. He'd been fine. He wasn't even in distress. So what the fuck happened? I don't know. For all I know, he twisted his neck. Hard to believe that can happen, but again, it could have happened any time then. That's the nature of him being in that pen and not being able to accept that he can't stand up. Not having because he's a dog, not understanding and that he's going to hurt himself trying. So it could have happened any time, if that's what happened. I don't know. My rent wrote something nice to me in response to when I told her the details of what happened, and that, I don't understand it, I don't understand it, and, she can't give me any answers, she has no clue. She just said, he lived 16 years, and that's impressive, and you did everything you could for him, and it was probably a cardiac event, and that would have been non-preventable, and of course, me being me, it's all going to have me thinking about my mom's situation. She won't admit it, but she's probably thinking the same thing. I'm sure she identified with him. They're both elderly, with health problems. Just because my mom lives in denial, deep down she knows, No. She seems very unhappy, but I'm unhappy. So even before Omar died, suddenly, which is going to traumatize anybody sensitive like me and my mom. We weren't prepared for it. Again, crying one moment, dead the next, that's going to traumatize anybody, who has a heart, who loves their, so. Things I have to do tomorrow, things that need to be returned, things that need to be picked up. I have things I have to do. I'm prepared to cry. Friend who totally gets it. Like, scream, cry, throw things, do whatever you need to do to stay safe. That's always the thing, huh? Staying safe. No fucking guarantee of that. Even if I don't touch a drop of alcohol. The very nature of these days is just so many fucking weird things. Like this car that plowed into this local bar. I don't think anybody got killed. People were injured. But when that happens, my first instinct to say is, how come the brakes don't work? Like, if you know you're because it showed where the car came from, and apparently it was coming from over there and got side hit by somebody and then came, but can't you put your brakes on? You were coming from kind of far away to plow into that. Like, how come they don't put their brakes on? I've wondered that. I guess new cars like these days have incredible brakes that can stop like in an instant, but I don't know. I thought brakes are good, and that I don't know why these cars end up plowing into places and don't just put the brakes on and stop themselves from plowing it. I don't know. I'm going to take a bath. Peed a couple times. I don't think I have to pee again. Ooh, still boiling hot. Still boiling hot. There's a spider over there when I was sitting on the toilet. Then it's gone, maybe because the water scared it away, the noise. Alright, that's boiling hot. Can't get in there. I get hot. I can't be scalding. Start over. Three, Sakura. I wonder what Joe wanted. Joe called me. What time did he call me? Let's see. 9. Like, call me in the next 15 minutes when you get this. You're not going to believe what happened to me tonight. Yes, I will. Last time you said, every time actually you say, you know, I'm not going to believe what happened to you. I do believe it. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but you got me curious, but we just talked for nearly 3 hours on Sunday, so. All right. Very careful, honey. Almost too hot, but not quite. Think of a sad song to sing. I can't think of any sad songs. just enough to see. I can't think of any sad songs. None that I know by heart, that's for sure. None that I know by heart. Weirdest thing is that before when he didn't have to be in the pen, when he was blind or not blind, he wasn't house trained. And then he didn't know, he wouldn't cry to go to the bathroom, so he went to the bathroom all in the house. Once he's in his pen, he would always cry to go to the bathroom because he doesn't want to go ever in his pen. That's the thing. If things had gotten bad, I wasn't ready right now, but I was preparing myself. If things had gotten bad where he wouldn't even cry to go outside and it was just going to be soiling his pen all the time, or if he would never be able to walk outside on the leash and would fall down all the time, then I would have known that it was time to be thinking about having him euthanized. That time hadn't arrived. The time had not arrived. But in any case, there was no way to know when he had to go to the bathroom. And he couldn't stand it if he went like on himself and then he's in that pen. So he would cry louder. That's what he did the other day. Like, oh my God, I didn't know, Omar, you'd already gone poo-poo. And then you just had eaten. It's only been a few minutes, whereas yesterday you went all day long without going poo-poo, so there's no rhyme or reason. So, but if he's just whimpering, I would think, okay, he's just whimpering, but when he cried louder, I would know, and I would be there in a heartbeat. And I very rarely left the house, and I was planning on only ever leaving the house if my mother could at least be here and keep an eye on him if he was screaming really loud, and to make sure that he didn't get the blanket over him or something, or get stuck like a bug on his back. So now nothing to stop me from leaving. Nothing to stop me. I certainly don't need to stay at home to be with my mother. Kept me grounded. Nurturing him, taking care of him, loving him. Now he's gone. And unlike is the case with a lot of people, including a woman around here, who shared her story with me, that I want to find out even more details. And what I can say is, I would never be prying. I would never pry, but you already volunteered the info. Can you tell me a little more and tell me how you wound up with this puppy? I guess a lot of people, their old dog dies and they immediately get a puppy. So they weren't really grieving their old dog, but that's their choice, That's what they want to do. That's what happened on Mom. Like a lot of people who have never been pet parents, Bonnie could not, for the life of her, understand why Adam was still grieving his old dog, who died at age 16 or so, died really old. It was like a shepherd or something, or a Labrador, whatever it was. I think it was a shepherd, but they didn't get him a shepherd. They got him a Labrador. But anyway, she didn't understand why the dog, why he was still grieving. She's like, it's just a dog. Why isn't he over it by now? Because grief is personal to everybody. I don't make any apologies. I've been crying out in public. I've cried. I haven't really gone out in public yet, but I cried the day, the next day after Omar died, and I was out in public with a friend and my mom. And I know that I'll periodically cry. I know that I will. All I have to do is think about it, and the waterworks come. Because it's still very, very raw, and it was traumatic. It would be traumatic to have him put to sleep, too, to have a stranger come here and anyway, it was going to be traumatic. Doesn't matter. Fact is, whatever killed Omar in the end, as my vet was saying in so many words, who's known Omar for good, a long time, God. Maybe almost 10, long time. 9, 10 years. Used to get Omar's nails done at Petco. They couldn't even believe he was the age he was. So that's the thing. He looked young. He had no health problems until he went blind. Going blind caused the corneal ulcers.